Sometimes the pressure here at our handyman rehabilitation center is just, it's too much for some people to bear.
You're distracting me. Get the out of here.
Move!
Look at this.
Yes, all right, just calm down.
Who's gonna make me, you?
This year, the stress of all of the constant building and the plumbing and the electrical work, well, it seems like it might be too much for one of our participants to bear. This is Canada's worst handyman.
In this winter hinterland,
come on.
The 5 nominees for Canada's worst handyman are getting very worked up.
No, Brian, what are you doing?
Whenever they work together.
Hey!
You're not listening.
Hey, Pink Hat!
Brian!
Pink Hat! Be quiet.
That's Brian P., a retired stockbroker from Ottawa. Next is Angie.
So, how about everybody's the foreman? Angie quits the foreman job?
Angie is a mother of 4 from Minto, New Brunswick.
You know what? It's crooked like here. Check Des Moines.
There.
That's it. That's all.
Eric, also a parent, is a nurse from Gatineau, Quebec.
If you want to do rocket science, you should have signed up for something else. Canada worst rocket science guy.
Then we have Johnny.
All right, we're going to do it over again.
Johnny is a constantly confused journalist from Red Deer, Alberta.
Yeah, they're all up.
And the final nominee for Canada's worst handyman
Could you listen to just what I'm trying to say?
is Brian M., an inquisitive Coast Guard officer from Sarnia, Ontario.
Can I show you what I sort of learned?
I don't want to know what you learned.
Okay.
If everyone's handiwork is going to improve here,
If you calm down instead of just freaking out.
Come on.
things are going to have to get a lot more civilized.
Hey, you know what?
Okay.
Do it.
No.
You do
the
it
measure.
yourself.
Do it.
Do it.
Here's the
And
hammer.
screw up.
There's the nails.
Listen
We're
to
on
it.
strike.
Sometimes dealing with these people gives me a splitting headache. Luckily, I have a very nice custom-made medicine cabinet, and it's fully stocked. Making a medicine cabinet is the next challenge for Canada's worst handyman. No, I'm just kidding.
In some ways, the medicine cabinet project began a week ago.
Mirrors.
On their first day of rehab, we took Canada's worst handyman shopping for supplies. For his medicine cabinet,
Small mirror tiles, Art Deco mirrors, mirrors with frames.
Johnny bought a mirror that will be hard to hang on a medicine cabinet. Brian M. bought a mirror almost as big, and Brian P. was having way too much fun to buy a mirror. Angie didn't buy a mirror either. So she salvaged the one from her bathroom wall. But today, she's regretting her decision.
This thing weighs a ton. Let me measure the mirror.
Angie's mirror is so huge,
Hold that right there, please.
her cabinet will be more like a closet.
It has to be the same size as the mirror.
Eric starts by wishing he bought a stud finder, and Brian P. doesn't want to start.
You know, some days you just can't get together. Honestly.
Johnny knows those days all too well. Johnny wants to use this thin plywood as his cabinet's backing, but he can't cut it. The solution to Johnny's problem is right under his nose.
Oh, is that the jigsaw? Yeah.
Can I borrow that for a second?
Nope. Brian M. has work to do, just like Johnny. Gail is doing her work with the serious tools. That's Gail Prosser-Craig, one of our experts here at the Rehab Center. Gail is joined by Jeff Woodmansey, a contractor from Toronto. Together, they do every project the bad handymen do. To make the shelves fit seamlessly into her medicine cabinet frame, Gail is using the radial arm saw to cut slots, called dados, into a pine board. The trick to making dados is setting the saw blade so it only cuts halfway through the wood with each stroke. When the frame is glued together and the back is nailed on, Gail creates footholes for the hinge screws.
Smaller screws can be harder to get started in the wood, so I'm just using my nail set to get a starter hole going.
For the reflective surface,
One of the better ways to hang a mirror is to use construction adhesive.
Gail is sticking down 2 separate mirrors. A decorative facing, knob, and lid later, and this medicine cabinet is ready for shelves. Gail's artistic work took 55 minutes.
All right, let's set it on a workbench to dry.
This is not going to be a piece of art.
Brian M's cabinet contains so many nails, they're starting to fight back.
Ah, yeah, I'm really bleeding.
Do you really need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 31, 32 nails to hold that little piece of wood on the back?
You also don't need house framing nails.
Oh, crap. Split the sucker.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 20.
After a full week in rehab, you'd think Johnny would be able to hammer better than this.
40.
I'm counting his swings, and Johnny's already at
50. 60. 68.
68.
68 swings of the hammer. You're hitting against nothing, so you're knocking this thing away every time.
We're just trying to get this thing done. I'd like to get a task done.
When we come back, the cabinets get finished.
Just hold it.
Yep, got it.
Okay, and then I'll...
Then drywall begins.
Holy man, I'm right over here.
Here at our isolated wilderness lodge, the nominees for Canada's Worst Handyman have been struggling to build medicine cabinets. Brian M. is getting close to done, but he doesn't know where his studs are.
Frig.
No one knows where their studs are.
There's got to be a stud here.
All the bad handymen should have bought stud finders when they were at the hardware store. Angie's husband, Roy, wanted to.
Stud finder, stud finder.
I have a stud finder.
Amazingly, Johnny did buy a stud finder,
No. That looks like a stud.
but he doesn't trust it.
I don't think we know how to use this thing. Oh,
Standard stud finders have something called a capacitor plate. That plate is able to read the density of whatever it's next to. When the density of the wall changes due to the presence of hidden wood, the device knows it's over a stud.
where now? Come on, I need your help here.
I guess that's the stud.
If you have no stud finder, fear not. That's why these wall anchors exist. You see, without a wall anchor,
Okay. Put a screw in.
bare drywall is just too crumbly to support anything heavy.
Good stuff. Stop. No, that's going to fall down.
But if you drill a hole and put a plastic wall plug in place, in the right place, it will be able to hold a heavy load, if it's the right size.
This is a train wreck.
Brian needs larger plugs to carry the weight of his monstrosity.
Just hold it.
Yep, got it.
Okay, and then I'll...
Brian M. gets his monstrosity on the wall, but the adhesive doesn't have the magical properties he was hoping for.
Veronica. 2 nails.
So you're happy with it or not?
I'm happy with the success of the project, yes.
Brian's done, but it didn't have to be this hard.
That was a grueling project that was designed to be done in about 90 minutes. It took me about 3.5 hours that I said to Andy would probably take me 5 hours at home.
Angie's using long drywall screws to attach her hinges.
You went through.
What?
You went through a nice bit, too.
I'm hoping I'm gonna find a stud here. It seems pretty hollow. Oh my God.
This cabinet would kind of work if the hinges were on straight.
Oh. Roy,
Yes?
it won't close now.
Why won't I close?
Angie thinks putting bigger screws through the same holes will somehow fix the hinges. But
Okay. Let's see. Oh my God.
Angie fails. And she still wants congratulations.
All right, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Brian P.'s cabinet is now supported by a 2x4.
Do you think that's going to fall down?
And his shelves are extremely slanted.
That, my son, is art.
Abstract.
Brian's cabinet makes Angie proud.
Man, I thought mine sucked.
When Johnny puts his cabinet on the wall,
Good, we're getting it.
he's as proud as a peacock.
Hey now, can I test?
Yes?
Johnny's mirror is a total bust.
But I was going to secure that.
Eric's tool knowledge is rapidly improving. He uses the radial arm saw to cut perfect dado slots into his cabinet frame.
I love this.
Cool, eh?
When his shelves go in and his back goes on,
Let's put this cabinet up.
Eric tries mounting his cabinet.
Holding.
But without a stud finder, he's going to have problems.
So I can't find a stud, but it's holding. Whatever.
It's not holding. Eric's cabinet is dangerous.
Yeah, you bet. Everybody else's is finished. So again, Eric's project.
Drywall, as we know it, was first mass-produced back in 1917. Today, the world goes through about 30 billion square feet of drywall every single year. It's an incredibly popular product, but it's kind of really hard to work with. And that's a problem because the next challenge for Canada's Worst Handyman is going to be drywalling their rooms.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Stuck on the ceiling, Roy.
Doing drywall is one of those tasks that many bad Canadian handymen think they can do
Oh, that's nice.
without receiving any instructions.
What we have to do is measure and cut, measure and cut, measure and cut.
To see how they think it should be done,
Is there a difference between both sides?
Canada's worst handymen are doing drywall
Holy.
without getting a lesson.
Now pull it tight, but tight. Oh, Johnny, you're pushing me over.
Well, I had to move it up.
The first thing you should know about drywall is that it's basically dried plaster contained within 2 sheets of paper. So, shaping it is easy if your utility knife is sharp. Next thing to know is that drywall should be installed horizontally. It's easier to handle And
It's beveled a little smaller there. So you put factory edge to factory edge, which creates a little dip. And when you mud it, it creates a nice, even, flat surface.
to hold this gypsum-based product in place, the experts are using drywall screws and a dimpler.
The dimpler is a neat little tool that helps you sink your fastener to the proper depth.
The expert's room is drywalled in 47 minutes. Eric starts by putting his drywall up vertically.
Threw that on.
All right.
Brian M. also goes for vertical installation.
Why isn't it going in?
Same for Johnny. Same for Angie. And Brian P. is the fifth bad handyman in a row to put his drywall up vertically.
Put one right here, right now.
And that's not his only mistake.
Oh, yeah.
Brian P. is completely covering his stud, so his next piece will have nowhere to start.
Good. Ouch. That hurt, man.
When Brian realizes his mistake, he decides to reveal the stud by gouging the edge of his drywall away.
Oh, H.
What happened?
I mangled this all man.
After the break,
This is a huge mistake.
drywalling concludes. Canada's worst handymen are in our Wilderness Rehabilitation Centre installing drywall in their rooms. Darlis doesn't want Johnny to lose track of his studs.
Pay attention to where the studs are running because you're going to need to know that. I'd even mark the ceiling.
Johnny doesn't mark anything. And he misses the stud with half of his screws, which leaves their heads raised.
You're never going to be able to mud over that. It's not catching. You're not catching the stud.
That's where the stud was.
Well, honey, you're not catching it. Look at it. It's not hitting anything.
Angie's drywall is 2 inches taller than her wall. So she's trying to shave it down to size using a drywall rasp, which is like an industrial strength cheese grater.
A bit more, eh? Whew, man, it's dusty.
Oh, yeah.
A rasp is good for removing 1/8 of an inch of drywall at the most.
Just nicking the ceiling.
Any more than 1/8 of an inch, and you're better off using a knife.
Oh, pretty close.
It's close, but still too tight.
Brian P. is rasping his drywall to the shape he wants, but he's putting this piece up with the backside facing out.
Drill one in right here. Okay. Right there.
With his sharp brain,
You know something? There's nothing there.
you'd think he would notice the color difference.
See this piece?
Yes.
Now look at this piece. Now look at this piece again.
It's backwards.
Indeed it is, sir.
All these screws are coming out.
Excellent. That's the only choice.
Angie is using a drywall saw to cut holes for her electrical switches.
Perfect.
Let's see if it lines up.
But she's missed the mark.
That's all right.
It's not all right.
No, you can.
I got a big hole in the wall.
Yeah, you can patch it, pal.
Try that. Okay, almost.
Brian M.'s hole is not misplaced.
Oh, neat. This would be great for carving pumpkins. Halloween.
Brian M.'s hole is torn.
There. Look at that. It's perfect. And you know what? This is where I need the rasp thing.
Brian M. needs a how-to-drywall manual. His final seam doesn't touch a stud, and it goes around his light switch.
Are you done up there?
No.
In his own special way, Brian M. understands his mistake.
I tried to use the drywall as a stability platform to cut indentations. What I should have done was just cut holes, so I learned my lesson.
Angie has made it all the way to the final corner.
Jeez. I don't know if I'm going to be able to work in here.
Angie's job looks good, but the perimeter of this drywall sheet only has 3 screws. And according to code, there has to be a screw every 8 inches. And on the studs hidden behind the middle of the larger sheets, there must be a screw every 12 inches.
I'm missing a few screws, actually.
The good news about this project is that Angie is definitely getting better.
If I could take that wall off and put it in my house, I would.
Eric's drywall goes up in full sheets.
All right. Put that there.
Eric gets all the way to the door before making his first cut.
He said this breaks like this. Hey, exactly like he said.
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon, Mark. We got her done.
Eric is also improving.
This is actually the best looking job I've done so far.
Brian P., meanwhile, is not improving. He's just stalling.
Looks good to me.
He hasn't even taken off his backwards piece.
Well, I'm not going to take that off.
Brian P.'s desire is as backwards as his drywall.
Without a doubt, I deserve to be Canada's worst handyman.
Johnny is contravening the Ontario Building Code because this outlet leads to another outlet that Johnny has completely covered, and you cannot hide a live electrical outlet.
So, let's say you wanted to plug your vacuum in here.
Oh. Yeah, it's right there.
The outlet?
Yeah.
So what's the solution?
I don't know. What is the solution?
You know the solution. It's painful, but you know the solution.
Darlis, why didn't you tell me or badger me? Like, how could you think that I'd want to cover that up?
Well, why are you hollering at me?
Well, why am I hollering? Because this is a huge mistake. Hell, another assignment, a task not done. Darlis? Darlis? Darlis!
Starting this challenge, Johnny thought he was the worst.
I still think I am, of the 5 participants, Canada's worst handyman.
Check this out.
When we come back, the lodge gets a taste of wildlife.
Smells like turkey.
Bull moose grow a brand new set of coat racks every single year. So we thought the next challenge for Canada's worst handyman should be to use authentic deer antlers to make a coat rack. Yeah, that'll work.
It's a task our experts have never done before.
We're just going through the planning phases of how to put this together.
The experts start by attaching legs to a post.
That works for you?
Yeah, this is totally gonna hold it in place.
Then they drill pilot holes through the recently living antlers.
They stink when you cut them or drill them.
When Gail has difficulty screwing through the bone-like material, she simply drills a bigger hole so the antler can be easily screwed onto the post. To make sure no one pokes an eye out, the experts are making safety stoppers that will also prevent coats from getting torn by the pointy antler tips. The experts are done in 69 minutes. Now,
Oh, cool!
how will the bad handyman tackle this project? Johnny and Brian P. are making wall mount coat racks.
Like, how the hell? It goes like that, right?
Eric's idea is to make a stand-up rack.
Screw one like this and then one like that, right?
And Brian M. doesn't know where to start.
What are you going to do? Are you going to do a tree thing or are you going to do a wall thing?
What do you would like? I'm trying.
No, not me.
I feel like a dental surgeon. I feel like a dental surgeon.
He looks like someone who should be standing up.
Get one that's wider than that. Longer, please. I just hate getting up.
Why don't we use the workbench for this, Johnny, instead of on the floor getting slivers up my...
Johnny made pilot holes that are far too narrow. Now, there's no way he can get his screws in. But he keeps on trying.
Damn.
Angie thinks her antler is ugly. And...
Oh, it stinks, too.
Smells like turkey.
Rotten ass turkey.
Holy. What a rotten smell.
Roy wants Angie to remove the bulbous end from her antler, but she thinks it'll stink too much.
Not cutting it off.
The result
Okay, give her.
will be a wobbly coat rack.
Oh, I'm stripping out. Yes. Do you think that's gonna hold a coat?
I don't know.
Brian P. hacksaws the end off his antler.
It smells just like the dentist. You know when your dentist was drills, it smells just like that. What do you think of this stuff?
I think industrial strength adhesive is great, but not for this job.
Probably too much. I've already drilled a hole in there, and I shouldn't have done it.
On rare occasions, though, Brian can get the job done by just adding more screws.
That's good and sturdy. That looks really cool.
Brian P. is the first to finish.
This is never gonna fall off.
I'll put my coat right there.
Although, his antlers droop immediately.
I'll be Canada's worst handyman. There's no way I won't be. Man.
When this challenge began,
Come on.
Brian M. grabbed the first antlers he could reach. They're not a matching set.
Why did you get
Why did I get what?
two going the same way? Like, why wouldn't you have gotten them opposite way so they actually look like antlers?
Because that was the luck of the draw.
Okay, fine, go.
Okay? Mm-hmm. There was 10 of us.
Go!
Sorry. It's in. It's on.
Brian M. has one screw in each antler.
That's good enough.
And he thinks he's done.
I just want to check them as coat racks.
Well, try it. Yeah.
Brian's antlers both swivel.
I don't like working with bone. I felt like I was a dentist.
Eric has rehab's most ambitious plan.
Avec la drill, puis mettre des branches. 4 branches. Ouais. See what I mean?
To taper down his branch legs, Eric uses an ancient tool known as a spoke shave.
Want to see the modern version?
Yeah.
Follow me. So it's a turned razor inside a funnel.
It's called a tenon cutter, and it's basically a jumbo pencil sharpener.
That is wicked. Wow. That is awesome, man. Oh, man. Look at this.
High five that, man.
That is wicked.
In almost no time, Eric has 4 snug-fitting legs.
There you go. Ta-da! I'll screw this on like this. Are you impressed?
Yeah, I'm impressed.
There you go. 1, 2, 3.
Eric's work is ready for hanging.
It's a piece of art, man. Sell that on eBay, make a couple grand.
Angie can't get her screw in, and Roy can't get it out.
Ah, there goes the screw.
Angie needs bigger pilot holes.
Turkey! Says the screws are driving into the horn. It smells just like burnt turkey. Did you like the turkey?
Yeah.
I cooked it all day for you. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Oh, no, you're not. Go in there. Just go. Yes.
Okay.
Is it still on?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. I'm staying in this baby. Oh,
There you go.
Time for the test.
I think I'm going with the back hook over here.
You going with the back hook?
Yeah.
I'm going with the forward one.
Oh, hey!
Angie's coat rack is better than it smells.
Hanging deer horns, the most turkalicious thing I ever did.
As usual, Johnny is the last person still working.
Why is it giving us so much aggravation?
While Johnny hammers pathetically, just look at the points on his antlers. They're pointing down. Johnny is still a very bad handyman on a lot of levels.
Like, say if I wanted to hang one up on this one. I mean, on this one.
Johnny's coat rack is upside down.
It is upside down, dear. It is.
Oh, don't bust the wood, honey.
After the break, blood flows. Ouch! And boils.
Move! The nominees for Canada's Worst Handyman don't really realize what they've gotten themselves into. Aside from renovating their own rooms, they're also going to have to make a huge ice fishing hut.
The twist is, they don't know they're making an ice fishing hut because they're making it in there in pieces. Today, they're making the doors, specifically a Z door, a foam core door, and a simple plywood door. The foreman of this door-making challenge is Brian M., and he's getting a lesson from our expert, Jeff.
You will be building doors today.
Okay.
Starting with
the Z door.
A Z door.
This door will be made of rough-hewn boards running vertically, held together by a Z of 2x4s.
So when the weight of the door bears down on it, this particular diagonal piece picks the weight up.
Okay.
The Z door will swing on T-hinges.
This gets mounted to the frame. This gets mounted to the door.
The simple plywood door uses the same kind of hinges, but the foam core door uses more complicated butt hinges that have to be countersunk.
Put your hinges where you'd like them.
Okay.
All right.
Then run your knife around them.
Okay.
You remove the hinge. And then you remove the material.
Remove enough material to make the hinge sit flush.
The structure for the hollow core door is hidden within.
That means it has an internal skeleton made of pine. The outside is thin plywood called Luan.
The only other thing you got to add to that is some foam.
In the middle?
In the middle.
And that's how you hang 3 different doors.
Okay, I guess I'm ready. Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you, Brian.
Oh, man.
Brian M. begins by breaking up his team.
You're going to be building the plywood door.
Okay.
Eric will be doing the foam core door.
We're going to have to put inset hinges here.
And Johnny will make the Z door with Brian P.
How wide is the door that you want to make?
31 and a half. Make it 31 and a half. Okay, Brian?
As usual, Brian P. is insisting on hand-cutting his lumber on a power saw instead of with a power saw. Handsawing one of these boards lengthways would be exhausting. So, Brian P. just intentionally makes the door too wide.
I think this is the best door.
Woo!
Can I just stop for a second? I just want to take a measurement because I'm a little...
That's 36.
What did I ask you for?
You asked for 31.
So, hold it. I asked for 31 and you're giving me 36.
To keep the boards symmetrical, Brian M. calculates he needs to remove
5, 3.5, so 1.75. 1.75 inches.
1.75 off each side. 1.75 off each side, Brian.
Canada might be metric, but building codes aren't. As a result, Canadian tape measures come in inches, which are broken down in halves, quarters, eighths, and sixteenths.
What's 1.75, man?
Show me where 1.75 is on that tape.
This is in the center. You go up to the next mark.
Oh, that's right.
To remove 1 3/4 of an inch from the boards, the foreman wants to teach Brian P. what he's learned about the table saw.
Remember, this is called a fence. So what we can do is we can slide this across. So 1 3/4 away from the blade.
Brian P. likes the table saw, but only as a seat.
And so 2 minutes after the table saw lesson, we're back to using the table saw as a bench for hand sawing?
Yeah. Ouch. You know what? If that would have been a power saw,
Is there a first aid kit here?
that would have been all gone.
When Brian P. gets bandaged, he wants to put his hands on Angie's job.
Let me use the chisel. Let me use the chisel. You're friggin' sharp. You can hurt yourself with these.
Brian P. didn't trust me with the chisel.
Brian P. shouldn't be trusted with a chisel.
Do you need a chiseling lesson there, Brian?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh, I think so. So let's say we're going to take this one out. You put the flat end against the line, not the rounded end. And we just... Now, how do you get that out of there is the next question. You flip the chisel over so you've got the sharp side, and you go to the line, okay? So you just take that shave off. You don't go too deep. You go with the grain, and you just take it to the line. And
This
now...
looks like some guy came at it with his teeth.
Ba-dum. So now you make the line here, toof, and you come and meet it.
Thanks for that lesson. That's
No
a good
problem.
lesson.
Brian P. tries it.
How many screws?
This seems like the hard way.
Is there a faster tool that we can use for chiseling? I guess not, eh?
I'm just going deeper and deeper.
These hollows should only be as deep as the door hinge, about 1/8 of an inch.
Man, we're getting pretty deep, man. We might have to even put a shim in there. I know you're really good, but this is too deep. Ho, 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 ho.
All we have to do is get some plastic wood and we got her beat.
No plastic wood. Well,
The chiseler.
To make an angled cut for the new Z, Johnny keeps the chop saw square while Angie holds the wood on an angle.
You're a good chop saw runner.
Actually, that's dangerous.
The wood is never here, okay?
Chop saws have a barrier called a fence. Before cutting, wood must be pressed firmly against it.
Because the spinning blade will push it only down and at the fence. If you hold it out here, now you're the fence and you're doing this. And if it grabs it and gets it away from you and it throws it this way, who knows where it's going? It's going everywhere. The dial is right there.
Right.
So if ever you want to do an angle, you don't turn the wood, you turn the saw.
machine.
Okay? See?
Yep.
Okay, Brian, the door's done.
It's done, but it doesn't fit.
that's not a good thing. We're going to have to take a little bit off the top and bottom. It wasn't cut around the line. I can see the line right here.
Instead of zipping off the excess with a power saw, Brian P. tries to plane the door down.
That's doing good.
Yeah, but there's no blade. It's gonna be here forever.
The Z door is 6 pieces of wood. Total build time so far, 2.5 hours. And the real bad news, it's too tall.
But we didn't get enough off there.
Yeah, it's like a 1/4 inch, man.
The foam core door is done.
Perfect. Yes, my man, give me 5. We did it, man.
And the plywood door also looks good.
You're pretty good.
Does it fit? Yes or no?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it fits.
But the Z door is still too tall. About 20 minutes before lunch,
Use your employees.
stomachs start growling.
Mark the
I'm marking him. I was going to mark him.
so I can go do what I'm supposed to do.
Good.
We need screws for these.
Remember, it's attached to the frame, Johnny. Relax. It's
So
going
you
to the
want me
frame.
to do it?
You relax,
It's going to the
Brian, for sakes.
Hurry up. Hustle.
This is ending catastrophically.
Hang on. You help?
Beat it. Go. Go, 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 go. Hustle, hustle.
Just relax.
Move, move.
After the break, petty disagreements
I could have had that door built in a second.
cross a serious line.
You eating mother.
Mr. Brian, you are doing such a wonderful job over here. Look at this lumber.
All throughout this door building challenge,
Boy, does that ever look good.
Brian M. has been very supportive of his team.
This is looking really good. This is looking really good.
But even with all of his positive energy,
This is hard work, Brian, and you're doing a super job, though, man.
the project isn't going well.
This is coming up and it's catching.
Brian, please take it out. Bring it down a little bit.
And now, a mutiny is brewing.
Dude, you're taking too long. This is ridiculous.
You guys you're rushing. It's all measured. We got to put it in.
This build is falling apart at the seams.
It doesn't matter.
Put the bottom in now.
Just put it
Why are you
on.
doing this?
They weren't listening. They were just hammering in nails. They weren't listening to me.
Oh, for frick's
I
sake.
told you it had to be higher up.
Okay.
You didn't want to listen. Whatever.
Take it off. Take it off.
So we're done?
No.
The doors might have been too much.
Is this too ambitious of a project for 5 bad handymen?
No.
No.
So this could have been done in 3 hours by you people?
A long time ago. I could have had that door built in a second.
That's it, everyone. Thank you.
You're killing me, man. You're killing me.
You know, I've never seen anything like this in my life.
With the project over, things get worse.
Project? There. That's the freaking project. Your mistake was you started wanting to do the job yourself and not let us work at all. That's why the project went
Because you don't trust people.
yeah.
When Brian P. gets back to the group's relaxing room, he won't drop it.
You have to learn to let people do what they do.
Brian, I asked you to do the bottom hinges and cut them out, and you didn't. You didn't do your job.
You're a big and I'm going to tell you something.
What Brian P. says next is not suitable for a Discovery Channel show about handiwork. All you need to know about what was said is that the rest of Canada's worst handymen no longer want to work with Brian P.
Get him out of here, right? Because there's no room for that.
Unacceptable. That is, cart him away.
This guy can't stay.
I think that would be, that him leaving would be a wise decision.
Brian, come and stand with me, man.
So that concludes our 4th episode here at the Handyman Rehabilitation Center. And this is the part of the show where I usually talk about who is the worst and who is the most improved. But let's just bypass that today. And I'll talk a little bit about why we're actually here. And that's for one reason and one reason only, and that's to make you people better handymen. That's it. So to make sure we all remain focused on the handiwork, quite simply, Brian Pugh, we're going to ask you to leave.
Thank God for that.
On the next episode of Canada's Worst Handyman.
I am not the worst handyman today.
The remaining nominees begin plastering.
I just made a big boob and it just came all over.
Making barrel chairs. And after the plumbing gets done, Eric receives a surprise visitor.
What's this? That's why you know. I'm missing a few screws, actually.